was. And I said this last night, and I'm going to say it again. The president gets called the worst names in the book by the media, and for him to be able to be received so warmly by all of you, not only did all of you get something out of it, but he was enjoying it too, and you could see that. He was just having the time of his life, and he was able to get a renewed sense of energy and purpose. Not that he needs the energy, though, that's the whole thing. But just thank you guys. You were awesome yesterday, and what an amazing experience. I mean, it was for those of you in high school, going to the White House is extraordinary. I mean, millions and millions and millions of Americans dream about the chance of going, to the White House, that close to the president, and all of you were able to do it. So thank you for that. So I want to just talk a little bit about the 3 big things at Turning Point USA we believe in, and then I want to open up for questions. And any question we can talk about, and then we'll go straight to lunch. We'll take a group picture. Then I'll be around to quickly take a picture with anyone who wants a picture, because I've been in a rush constantly dealing with logistics, so I feel horrible with all, hey Charlie, can I? And I was like, sorry, I'm busy. I said, so apologize for that. We're going to make that right after the speech. So we believe in 3 big things at Turning Point USA. The first thing we believe in, we believe that America is the greatest country ever to exist. We believe that America is the most benevolent, charitable, generous, productive, accepting country ever. Here's a great statistic for you. All around the world, there are 2 million immigrants legally. 2 million every single year. So there's 2 million people that legally immigrate every single year. America takes half of those every single year. 1 million people legally immigrate to the United States every single year. So we're 5% of the world's population, and we take 50% of legal immigrants.
Wow.
It's incredible. It should be applauded, by the way. Legal immigrants. Legal. Big difference. Ben said yesterday, legal immigration, right? Legal. We're the most generous country and the most benevolent country. Americans gave over $500 billion away to charity last year. $500 billion. It's incredible. No country comes even close to helping people in need. And that's just the money that we know of. That's not the money that people might be lending to someone that might need, some help to make rent, or the money that is given to a church or a synagogue or a mosque that isn't disclosed. That's not even talking about $500 billion voluntarily to charity. America's 5% of the world's population. 5% of the world's population. Yet we account for over 60 to 70% of all the economic output for the entire world. So how is a country with only 5% of the world's population so productive and so wealthy and so unbelievably generous? Well, it's because of our ideas. It's not because of our access to natural resources. A lot of countries have access to natural resources. Russia has access to natural resources. Iran, Saudi Arabia, that doesn't make them great. It makes certain people in our country rich, but it doesn't make the country rich. Why has America been able to create so much wealth and have so much opportunity for so many people? Well, it's because of our ideas. It's because the ideas that are embedded in the second thing that we believe in at Turning Point USA, which is we believe the Constitution is the greatest political document ever written in the history. Now, let's have a quick conversation about this. One of the questions I always get is, Charlie, how could you possibly love the Constitution? It was written by slave owners. You've heard this argument before.
Yeah.
It was written. So I always say, show me in the specific document what you disagree with or what you find fault with. Don't show me the sins of the authors. So the document was written under the idea of e pluribus unum, out of many one. Did you know that the year after the Declaration of Independence, in 1777, the first state abolished slavery, Vermont? The first state. And the abolition movement was inspired by the American founding. Understand that the evils of slavery was the societal norm for the world for thousands of years. So instead, we shouldn't look at the countries that had slavery. We should look at which countries abolished it, were what inspired the abolition of slavery, and who actually fought for the abolition of slavery. Under the idea of the United States Constitution was something called natural rights. Now, mind you, our country didn't even live up to our own standards we set for ourselves because we allowed slavery for far too long. And that's something that should be talked about, understood, and said, you know what? An aspect of a mature society, an aspect of a great society, is how you are able to move past inequalities towards societal equality under the law. Whereas other countries aren't able to brag about that. Some countries regress backwards. And so under the construct that we have in the United States system, the idea of natural rights is, where do your rights come from? They do not come from government. They come from God.
Yes.
It's a big difference. That the rights are natural upon birth. That it's government's role not to give out your rights, but to make sure that they don't take them away from you. It's a huge and fundamental difference. See, the left does not believe that. The left believes that your rights, your right to existence, is granted to you by government. That it's the state that gives you the right to life, or we're going to give you the right to maybe own a little bit of property, but it's really the state's authority. That's incorrect, because if you think about it, who formed government? We did. Government should be accountable to the individual, not the other way around. Not that we should be subservient to government. And here's one of the most interesting things: if you look at the story of the abuse of power and the abuse of government over the last 2,000 years, where horrible things happen, such as the slave trade, such as reckless wars and sending people overseas to die for futile causes, what's the common denominator behind all those things? Big and oppressive governments. When government is allowed to be restrained, when natural rights are protected, individuals are allowed to flourish. So when the president spoke yesterday, there was a presidential seal right here. On that presidential seal is a Latin phrase, e pluribus unum.
Yes.
That means out of many one. Unlike the left, where they want to find differences between all of us, where they want to divide us, they believe in divide and conquer. We believe in e pluribus unum. We believe that there really is only one race, the human race. And that we have more that unites us than what divides us. And that instead we shouldn't be looking simply at, I believe the left is so focused on identity politics and so focused on things that tear us apart and not things that unite us, because they are able to get political power through that. And the United States Constitution is a document that is completely agnostic to where you come from, to what you look like, but instead it gives you the chance and the opportunity to succeed. I'm allowed to say what I want to say, how I want to say it, when I want to say it, and the government cannot shut me up. What an amazing thing. That is not being. So America, let's just dismiss another lie about America. America is the least racist country in the history of the world. Now, are there individuals that are racist? Of course. You're always going to have people that are broken and sinful. Even in countries that, we still have people that commit assault and murder. All of these are sins. Racism is a sin. It is. So you're never going to completely and totally abolish sin. It's impossible. But as a culture, have we moved past where we were in the 1940s? Oh my goodness. 1960s? Oh my goodness. 1980s? Oh my goodness. In fact, I think we have made so much positive progress in the last 20 or 30 years. It is insulting how the left continues to portray our country. That we're more divided than ever before. I don't believe that. And you can prove it. Go to somebody who might say, well, yeah, we're a horrible racist country. And say, is your interaction with people that look differently than you generally positive or generally negative? And almost always the answer is, well, generally positive. Well, okay, if your own personal experience, you're not even going through the same sort of hatred that you think exists there. And you even look at, with young children, they don't see racial differences. It's taught to them. In fact, it's reinforced, saying to young kids, well, you have white privilege. Excuse me? I mean, so you're making me focus more on race than I ever wanted to, or that I ever naturally thought that human beings should. Instead, I don't care, what you look like is relevant. I care about how you act.
Yes.
I care about your character. I care about your worldview. I care about your values. That's what matters. And the left will intentionally misrepresent what conservatives believe, and what they themselves hold is belief that America, from its founding and America today, is a culture and a country that is racist, bigoted, homophobic, all these horrible things. If that was the case, why is it that the caravan wants to go north to America and not south to Venezuela? If we're such a racist, bigoted, homophobic country, why do so many people want to come here? Think about it. We are so multi-ethnic. We have every country represented in the world in our country. Do you know that almost no other country can say that? Almost no other country can say that they have a piece of the whole world within their own country. Think about that. You know how many refugees Japan took in 2 years ago? 2. 2! Took in 2 refugees. We took in 22,000. And we should. We're a generous country, a benevolent country. I think we're too generous at times. I think that sometimes our generosity gets blurred with actually how much capacity we have for a nation to look after our own citizens. That's a totally different conversation. However, the fact that we're, as a country, not tearing each other apart at the seams is a miracle. And we don't appreciate that enough. I mean, in almost every other country in the world, just take the United Kingdom, take Sweden, they don't know how to deal with cultures that are coming in that are different than the original culture. In America, we take this for granted. And instead of actually appreciating and applauding how well we do with this, the left says, oh, we're so divided because of this horrible person that said this horrible thing on this specific YouTube video, or this police officer that did something evil. Like very, very sporadic, unrelated incidents. Instead of talking about, we have every major religion represented in our US Congress, we have over 50 first-generation immigrants in the United States Congress. We have basically every single race represented in the United States Congress. There's over 30 languages that are spoken in the United States Congress as a first language, not English as a first language. That's incredible. It's the most diverse, multiracial country in the world. I'll prove it to you. Because there's something unique about the American culture, and it's not based on skin color. And that's amazing. This is an experiment. There's no guarantee this is going to work. Look at the 2016 women's gymnastics team. Okay? So the women's gymnastics team, the team that won gold, you had a Black American, you had a Jewish American, you had a Hispanic American, and a Caucasian American. All of them were Americans, and we applauded their success to win gold. You looked at the Chinese gymnastics team, Chinese, 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 Chinese. If anyone that would have been Black would have been on that Chinese team, their country would have rejected them. That's not Chinese, they would have said. Chinese is based on biology.
Yeah.
That's what they believe.
Yeah.
In America, we say they're all Americans. Because being American is not based on a biology or a skin color. No other country has been able to accept so many different people from so many different places successfully, because there was a chance this might not have worked, and it goes back to our founding ideals. And the third thing that we believe at Turning Point USA, and we believe that free enterprise capitalism is the most moral, proven, and effective economic system ever discovered. And we also take a very, very aggressive stance against socialism, a very aggressive stance against socialism, as many of you know. So let's define terms. I'm going to tell you first and foremost what free enterprise isn't. Free enterprise is not wheeling and dealing inside crony deals here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Free enterprise capitalism is not hiring the right lobbyists to get the right inside contracts. Free enterprise capitalism is you have a good idea, and you want to sell that good idea to that person, and you both voluntarily cooperate to make that happen. It's an exercise in voluntary transaction. Do you know what's so amazing about free enterprise system is if you don't have a good idea, or you do something wrong, people will stop buying your stuff. So you have to prove yourself over a long period of time. So here's one of the biggest differences between the right and the left. We here generally believe that human beings are broken by nature, that we're self-interested, that there is goodness somewhere within us, but it's being wrestled with inclination to do bad, to maybe lie a little bit, or cheat a little bit, or I'll just cheat on this one exam, or I'll tell somebody I was somewhere else. Every person goes through that kind of internal struggle. That's normal. And so the question should be, how do we make human beings perfect, like the left sometimes goes on this fool's errand to do? So the left believes something totally different, the radical left. They believe that anything that human beings do wrong is a byproduct of a system that has been built that makes human beings do things wrong, most specifically private property. The left believes because you're able, I know it's hilarious, right? No, it really is. The fact that you're able to own private property, they believe that that brings out the worst in people. So the left, if you come at it from this lens, you're like, wow, that actually kind of makes sense. The left is trying to create perfect people by demolishing the current system that we have. Okay, so but what's amazing about free enterprise capitalism is it forces you to be a good person. Now, are there bad people in the free market? Of course there are. And too many of those cheaters sometimes get away with it, but they get called out more times than not. However, to be rich and to be successful and to attain wealth, it's really hard to be a jerk over and over and over again. It actually requires for you to be decent. It requires you to tell the truth. It requires you to employ a lot of people and earn the trust of your employees. You know what's so amazing about a booming economy? Is that if a jerk tries to hire a bunch of people, you're like, I'm not going to work for you. I'm going to go work with somebody across the street. I don't have to work for you. You're always disrespectful to me. I don't like the way you talk to you don't talk to us. All of a sudden, that voluntarism allows people the opportunity for things to get better. And so in a free market, what also happens is all the goods and products that all of you have here, you're able to communicate without ever opening your mouth what you want, how you want it, and you demand better. And so when I was in high school, which was 7 years ago, Netflix was still a service where you mailed in CDs.
It's crazy.
Does anyone remember that?
Yeah.
In those days? The iPhone was barely going onto the market, barely. And there was talk about whether it would be possible to do something called a FaceTime call. Like, could you actually look at somebody on your cellular device? We laugh at this stuff now because things have been getting so quickly. Now, why does Apple improve their products every 3 months and have these big launches? Now they have these weird 3-camera phones. Like, why do they do that? Why is that? Profit. They want to make money. It's a good thing. You think Apple would keep doing that over and over and over again if they were a government agency? Do you think that the Apple engineers would work 7 days a week and 20-hour days to get the design absolutely perfect so that you guys could go live your life and communicate with your friends and have whatever you do with your phone to make your life better? And everyone has a story. Well, I was able to sell more product. I was able to start an Instagram channel. I was able to get revenue through YouTube. All those sorts of things that we take for granted. I was able to drive Uber, right? I was able to have extra income. Do you think the Apple designer that just makes sure the design is just perfect and the accessibility is just right, do you think he does that out of the goodness of his heart? Maybe part of it, but the reason is he wants to make money. And that's a suitable drive. There's nothing wrong with that, actually. And I feel as if there's this huge narrative in America that needs to be just pushed back, which is just because someone gets rich does not mean anybody gets poor. It's very, very important. Somebody creates wealth. They didn't take it from somebody. They didn't take it. Now, if government gets money, they are taking it by force. So in order for Apple to become one of the wealthiest, most well-funded companies on the planet, what did they have to do? They had to convince all of you their product was really good. And they had to add value. Exactly, they had to add value. They had to do it over and over and over again. Anyone remember a little store called Blockbuster?
Go on now.
Please be kind and rewind. The young lady says up front. Exactly right. You know how many Blockbuster stores are back? Left?
One.
Totally bankrupt. What happened? Blockbuster was the coolest company back in like 2003.
Yeah. We hung out at Blockbuster.
Blockbuster didn't compete. Blockbuster did not have the right ideas. Maybe Blockbuster got a little lazy. There was over 2,000 Blockbuster locations. It was a $20 billion company. People said, oh, the future is owned by Blockbuster. You know what company people were laughing at? Netflix. They were laughing at Netflix. Netflix is going to go all streaming. Like, no one's going to want to actually stream things. They're going to want to be able to hold on to what they watch. The market rewards risk takers. The market rewards entrepreneurs. And Blockbuster went by the wayside. And guess what? That's a good thing. That's a healthy thing for a market economy. It's a good thing that you don't have to now get in a car and go rent something and then drive back. As efficiency time. You save hours of time a year to be able to get entertainment quickly. That's what markets are all about, improving your life. It's a beautiful thing. We take that for granted. Anyone remember a company called Kodak? Yeah. Kodak? Another company. Does Kodak exist anymore? No. Barely. They have like the thing that you can pop into. That's about it. Huge company. Barely exists out of New York. Why? Because all of you have cameras on your phone. So Apple was like, why don't we just put an amazing camera on the phone? And then people were like, Apple, okay, we know you're in this whole like change the world thing, but people want their camera and they want their phone and they want them separate, okay? They don't want to put all these photos on their phone. This is really what the experts were saying. And now Kodak-based doesn't exist. Guess what? That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Because now all of you don't have to go purchase another device. It's incorporated with one you already have. So the rules of the market is that things get better, they end up costing less, and more people get access to those things. Whenever a market is allowed to exist. Those are the laws of the market. Those things are not happening, a market does not exist. One more example too. Anyone remember the company Rand McNally? Anyone know what that company is?
The maps.
The map company?
Yeah.
So anyone go on a road trip recently or try to figure out where you're going? Okay, so MapQuest, right. Anyway, these Rand McNally maps were this big. You had to turn it. It was so dangerous. People got lost all the time. The idea of getting lost, I talked to high schoolers about this. They don't understand what I'm saying. Asking for directions? Like, that's not a thing. Anyone ask for directions when you were young with your parents? Like, I know exactly where I'm going. Just go pull over to the gas station. Now you plug it into Waze, you plug it into Google Maps, you plug it into Apple Maps, and it will tell you where to go. And actually, I think if there's some negatives to that, people have no sense of direction. They just end up on the north side of Philly, like, where am I?
Oh.
I don't know how I got here. Am I on the south side or the west side? Am I in New Jersey? I don't know. Anyway, there's maybe a little downside there, but studies show that people are safer, they're saving more money and fuel. We are more environmentally conscious because of the rise in mapping technology. One more example. I get around all the time with a little button that I push that would not exist if Apple didn't come up with this amazing innovation that is the smartphone called Uber. I'm sure all of you use Uber or Lyft or all of it.
Lyft gang.
The way you used to have to get around, especially when it's cold, I mean, come on. You used to have to get a taxi that would always be late. You have to call a taxi, be super expensive. And now you can get a car in 2 minutes or less. So not only do you benefit from it, but the driver has a job. And they might need that little extra income. They might need that $100 a month where they just drive enough. Do you know what's so great about Uber driving? You can drive as much as you want, or as little as you want. So it's a pure meritocracy. I wanted to put an extra 3 hours a day, and I was able to get some benefit from that. And everyone's life gets better because of it. Now, are any of these experiments perfect? Of course not. But the left will focus on the negative when the positive is so beyond overwhelming. When everyone's lives are getting better, they'll say, oh, well, there's an Uber driver that pulled out a gun. Like, okay, great. There's 2 million Uber trips a day in the United States, and you found some lunatic that shouldn't be an Uber driver. And they say, well, this is a reason why we shouldn't have Uber. Like, no, that's actually a reason why human beings are self-interested. Thank you. But instead of trying to say we're going to make perfect things, we should try to make things better.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And the left focuses on the false promise of creating a perfect society. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen because human beings are broken by nature, but things can get better, and they have been getting better. The final thing, kind of talking about markets, and then we'll open up the questions, is the beauty of entrepreneurship. How many people in this room want to start a business at some point?
Already doing it.
Almost the whole room.
Already
Awesome,
here.
buddy. I love it. You already have a business. Great.
Yes, sir.
Entrepreneurship, starting nothing to something, is a uniquely American idea. I had the opportunity to travel in Europe over the last year, and you talk to people in Italy, and some people are built into this idea, well, I'm going to do what my dad did, and I'm going to do what my grandfather did, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the idea that, you know what, I want to try something new. I want to go in a new direction. I want that frontier spirit. That's America. I want to try something that hasn't been tried before. So Terrence here? Is Terrence Williams here? He had quite a day yesterday. I would be surprised. He's everything that is best about America. Grew up in the foster care system. Grew up in a totally broken home. And now he's on the same stage as the President of the States. It's amazing. That's America. So, what makes entrepreneurs thrive and succeed? Well, first of all, our public sector education system is a disaster. It is rigged against black children. It is rigged against black families. And so there is a legitimate critique of the system that we could talk about. And I'll tell you, the public sector education system is one of the most moral outrages in the history of our country. We have teachers that we cannot fire that are being overpaid that should not be teachers. We have failing public schools with administrators that do not care about their students. And we have black families and black mothers that should have the opportunity to send their kids to better schools, school choice, but they're being locked down by self-serving politicians all across the country. And so a good education system, teaching people to read at a young age, holding them accountable, teaching discipline is critically important. The second thing is you have to be able to have access to capital and economic freedom. The access to capital is one of the biggest issues facing black entrepreneurs, one of the biggest issues. And what the problem is, unnecessarily penalizing certain black entrepreneurs because their father or the family they came from might not be able to co-sign a loan or might not be able to get them the capital that they need. So to break that system, President Trump signed the Opportunity Zone bill. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
To break that chain. So I encourage all of you that want to start that business, and if you live in an opportunity zone, and I've been talking to some of you, and some of you do live in opportunity zones.
Right here, right here.
You live in an opportunity zone right
Yes.
there. Over $80 billion has been parked by these evil capitalists, right? Think about this. So Bernie Sanders says billionaires should not exist. That's what Bernie Sanders says. And Mark Zuckerberg says you shouldn't exist. Anyway, so think about this. I'm going to make the argument for why billionaires should exist. You want to hear that in like 20 seconds or less?
Yes.
Okay, but first of all, a billionaire didn't become a billionaire by looting and pillaging and sticking guns to people's heads. Okay? You become a billionaire by persuading people to buy your product over a long period of time. Do you ever notice when people are like, oh, he's a billionaire. What did he do? Like, oh, he started Nike. Like, yeah, he's pretty good. Like, you know, all of a sudden, many of these billionaires are people with products that you use, and they've earned all of your trust. I guarantee a lot of you use Amazon. I guarantee a lot of you use Facebook or Instagram. And all of a sudden, so they make wealth off of you voluntarily transacting with them. So you kind of go to this, you kind of go a step further. A lot of wealth is created. Our government taxes that wealth way too much. Tax the wealth way too much. President Trump signs a provision that says if you put those earnings into the inner cities, into an opportunity zone fund, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on it, which is like a 20% tax on earnings.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden these evil capitalists, right, they want to keep more of their money, and then they're putting it back in all of your communities. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
It's actually a good thing, because they want to make money, they want to see you make money. What's the opposite? The government has been trying to do this unsuccessfully for 40 years, because the government destroys everything it touches. It's corrupt, it's inefficient, it does not flow resources correctly. And so, $80 billion will now be reinvested correctly into the inner cities thanks to President Trump. But not just in these public work projects that no one knows what happened. Like, wait, why are we building like electric car stations in the middle of South Chicago? I mean, some of these projects make no sense. Like, oh, well, you know, that's Jesse Jackson's family. They own it. Okay, got it. So it's like all these like corrupt inside, or Maxine Waters. They're building like solar panel, plants in Maxine Waters district, and meanwhile people don't have houses, they're homeless. Like, yeah, the solar panels aren't really going to help them, right? Instead, investing in people that have ideas and the power of entrepreneurship. That's how you're going to break the system. That's how you're going to break it, because there are so many great ideas, so many young black entrepreneurs that I have met, and the number one problem they have is access to capital, and a second problem is also just mentorship and guidance at times. That's also being solved, and there's a lot of great charities that do that. President Trump's new tax bill is going to do a lot of great there. So those that have those ideas, be bold, take those risks, and now you have the opportunity to succeed in Florida. So, all right, let's open it up for some questions. This is the part we love most, and we'll start to line up here, and just make sure it is a question, not a statement with an upward inflection, right? So not all this stuff that you tell me and then you say, so what do you think about that? So that's not a question, okay? Make it a question. All right, let's start over here. Do you like Donald Trump? My goodness, that's
I plead the fifth. You appear to be a conservative. So my question for you, you claim that you're against identity politics. However, I find that extremely hypocritical, considering this event is called the Black Leadership Summit. You run events called the Jewish Leadership Summit, Latino Leadership Summit. We have people like Rob Smith, gay, black, veteran, conservative. why have you not disavowed that and just called these events American Leadership Summit?
So I have a question for you.
Get him, Charlie.
I agree that it's a fair question. And again, I love disagreement. That's why we're here. Thank you for being here. Does everyone agree that there's a unique black culture in America?
Yeah.
Outside of the color of the skin, right? So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, in a two-parent household where the problems that we faced were not the problems that I'm hearing people in this room that have expressed. Are there unique problems in black America that is not affecting us?
Yeah.
Right? So to first and foremost understand that culture, not skin color, but black culture has very specific needs and issues that need to be addressed under a very specific The second thing is this, under the idea of identity politics, and it's a very good question, you're believing that people should vote or think a certain way based on their skin color. I have never said that, and I will never believe that. Instead, I will say this, here's what I think citizens of this country should believe in order to be successful. See, now the left is this. The left will see the amazing leaders here in MAGA hats, and they'll say, black people should not be wearing MAGA hats. They just don't understand it. They just can't compute it, which is an unbelievably racist thing to say, and it's rooted in identity politics. Instead, they should say, why are you wearing this MAGA hat? Tell me why you believe what you believe. It's a question that I understand where you're coming from. However, I will push back a little bit specifically to my original point that until there is a cultural movement in black America where the black community has discussions like this, hears from top role models and icons like you've been hearing from, I believe that's where the biggest amount of change is going to happen. And from the feedback we have received from the attendees here, the depth that you're able to get into, the relatability, the comfort, and the connection that you get, I think validates the need for a Black Leadership Summit, with the audience probably agreeing. Thank you very much. I like your shirt.
I like this challenging question.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Kirk, I love you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for having all of us here. My name is Kiana Garrett. I name is Bobby De Niro. But my question is, how do we get the opportunity zone to expand? Because I am born and raised, and I currently live in New York City. Name is so nice, you say it twice. But like you said, it is a shame. I'm all about finances, financial freedom. I'm teaching my sister about credit and how powerful it is, how powerful free markets are, the power of entrepreneurship. And it is a shame because a lot of people, they do have amazing ideas, but they don't have the knowledge of capital. They don't have the mind to have a strategic business plan, so that way when you come forth for angel investors or come forth to banks, you know how to make your business profitable and marketable. So I just want to know how, because I'm very empowered and you've inspired me, like all the other speakers inspire me. I just want to know how can we make that happen, because I have, the heart to want to make change now, especially where I live.
So thank you for that question. I have to say, in all of our school system, there is such a financial illiteracy problem. And there are charities and groups and organizations and websites that are designed to help fix this. And so for those of you that want to start a business, this is a rule of thumb for any person, you have to know the basics of credit and debiting and borrowing money and all those sorts of things. And if you don't know, here's my other piece of advice. Go find a mentor and ask for help. It's amazing how many people want to help other people that sometimes just can't connect with that person. Finding a good mentor and ask questions. There are people here at this conference that could help every single one of you.
Yeah.
I mean, go find David Harris Jr. David Harris is going to have a lot of work after this. But David Harris has run successful businesses. He has invested successfully. What a great mentor he would be to so many people here, right? Same with Brandon Tatum. Same with Candace Owens. Same with all the speakers here. And ask the questions. And you can, this is a place where you can say your dreams and have people help you attain them. And so I hope that's helpful. And look, I also believe it's not just the problem of the Black community. America has, I think, an intentional financial illiteracy problem where we vastly overindulge and spend on garbage, And I think that, you know, we have become a personally debtor nation. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I could talk about, you know, implications because of that. But anyway, I appreciate the question. Thanks for being here. So we'll go over here.
Hi, good morning. My question is, how is it that we can teach others that it's not just, a lot of people think that Trump is the problem, but a lot of people don't understand that there's levels to it. Like, how I just recently educated myself, just a dummy version of it, that there's a White House in your state and within your cities. So how is it that how can we teach people that Donald Trump isn't your problem? It's who is in Congress or who's running in your state and city. That a lot of people don't know.
So I think the analogy and the metaphor you just used is phenomenal. It really is. The most important government position that people don't hold accountable in the inner cities is the alderman. The alderman, or the equivalent of what you call an alderman in your city. In Chicago, that's what you call basically whoever oversees the wards in the city. And they have a lot of power. They have a lot of power over the public schools, over the distribution of capital, over business selection, all these sorts of things. And look, I want to see in so many different ways. I think that there is a problem with not enough civic engagement in these cities and holding these elected representatives accountable. So I want to put up some food for thought here. One of the reasons why the black community has done so poorly over the last 25 or 30 years is, I mean, there's a long litany of reasons, but if I were to give a political reason for it, is the lack of competition for votes.
Yeah.
So when you have to compete for a vote, for example, in the suburbs, 1 year it will go Republican, 1 year it will go Democrat, 1 year it will go Democrat, 1 year it will go Republican. Well, what does that mean, though? That means that people have to show what they've done and show what they're going to do. So all of a sudden there's competition, right? But when there isn't competition, people say, those are the bad guys, at least I'm not a bad guy, keep re-electing me. That's not good for the community. Instead, it should get to a place where it alternates this person on this idea, and it doesn't have to be Republican, Democrat, but it can be different ideas. Instead, one size fits all idea has been continually getting put back into power in the black community, continually. And that is that's dysfunctional, because then all of a sudden the politicians, they get lazy, and they get corrupt, and they get self-interested. And they by no means then have to actually deliver results. So for example, you know, in areas that are 1 year Republican, 1 year Democrat, 1 year Republican, 1 year Democrat, if you don't go to Congress and do what you said you're going to do, you'll get kicked out. You get kicked out. But if Maxine Waters, as her district gets more dangerous, more kids not in school, and poorer, she gets reelected. Because her whole national campaign, her whole message is there's a boogeyman behind behind the wall. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Elect me. It'll be okay. And that has to break. And I think it breaks in a variety of different ways. And all of you, please consider getting involved and/or running for office at some level. Because in your own communities is where this system will get broken. I truly believe it. So, thank you.
Hey Charlie, I'm Chandler. This is my 5th Turning Point USA event. I've been to a lot of these. I really love these events. So one thing I've learned after going to all these events is that high schoolers are probably the most untapped potential from Turning Point and basically the conservative movement in general. And I myself am a high schooler, and I've been attending these in middle school actually, and I think that if Turning Point USA worked a little harder to reach out to high schoolers, there could be a lot more done with the conservative movement, and I'd love to help you guys with that. I just want to know, what do you think you can do to reach out? I know you guys have TSAS, and TSAS was really good. I was there. I saw you there. I believe I asked some questions, but I just want to know what you think you can do to get things going, getting more teenagers involved.
Look, I totally give it up. Chandler, right? Way ahead of the curve. So look, we're looking to expand our high school influence even more. And we're starting high school chapters all across the country. But it's tough because a lot of the high schools, they'll block our groups from getting started. And sure, yeah.
So one thing I think you should do to reach more high schoolers is high schoolers will get inspired when they see other high schoolers. So this is something I've personally experienced. I've been out, I started like being an influencer. I started like talking after YBLS last year. You guys really inspired me. And I met this kid named Avery at BLS. Some of you may know him. He might even be in here. And he said he was inspired. He saw me at YBLS. He saw my YouTube channel, some of the things I've done, and he was inspired to come to this event, some of your other events, and really be there. And I think if you had high schoolers there, like me, or like kids that are my age there, it will inspire other high schoolers or people around our age to attend.
You're the one they
Well,
love.
if he can do that, or if she can do that, I can do that. I can be there, and I can get you all this.
You're absolutely correct. And we need to do even more in high schools. We're growing into it as quickly as we can, but we need to rev it up because the indoctrination is starting so young. The misinformation is starting so young. And some of the biggest lies that are being taught to young people is one of the biggest ones is in particular is that the party's switched. I mean, that if I could just push a button and like just have deprogram a lie the left has taught our youth, is that somehow the political party switched in the 1960s. Yeah, good. And so anyway, I love your passion. If you're at 5 conferences already as a high schooler, you're going to be really out of the corner. So we're glad you're here. Thank you.
Hi, Charlie. Thank you so much. My name is Kristen. Thank you for having myself, all of us. My question is with regards to a really hot topic in our nation and around the world, climate control and the hysteria, like the hysteria behind it. Can you elaborate on how that hurts capitalism, how that hurts, I do believe it does. How does it, promote socialism, and what can we do to better educate others about the need for, or rather not being hysterical about something?
Sure. So being hysterical about anything usually is a bad idea. So first and foremost, the world has never been greener than it is today. It's a fact that your teachers won't tell you, and your professors won't tell you. The world has never been greener than it is today. We have more greenery on Earth than ever before. You guys can type that in precisely to Google, and you'll be able to see it yourself. The United States has now decreased carbon emissions for the first time in the last 30 years under the Trump administration, outside of the Paris Climate Accord. A couple big questions when it comes to the environment and climate change. But before I get to those 3 questions, here's what frustrates me. Is that the left will intentionally drum up hysteria on an issue to pull at people's emotions while there's such pressing, catastrophic needs happening in our own country. And specifically the Black community, fatherlessness, failing public schools, lack of capital, and the amount of the structural inequality that exists in government in our inner cities, where Democrats get so rich when they get to city council and they're able to do whatever they want. Those are really pressing issues. Now, the climate hysteria, the first question you should always ask is, okay, how much are human beings contributing to rising global temperatures? We don't know the answer to that question. No one knows that. We are a little bit, not at all, because the Earth has changed naturally for quite some time. That's the first question. Second question is, what can we do about it? Or what should we do about it? Should we hamper our entire economy just to try to maybe possibly lower global temperatures by 1 degree over 30 years? That doesn't sound like a good deal. That's what the Paris Climate Accord would possibly do. Kind of a side note of that, do you know what the largest polluter on the planet is? It's the United States government. It's the largest polluter on Earth. But by far, the largest polluter is the United States government. With the wars that are declared, with the inefficiency of government buildings. And kind of a byproduct to that, free enterprise capitalism and free markets will help solve very, very big problems. But if we're talking about just removing carbon emissions from the environment, there's a very simple way to do this. We all know one thing gets rid of CO2, and that's trees, right? So why don't we become the ones that are talking about planting more trees and reforestation? So instead of saying, oh, let's get rid of all the productivity that we have in our society, let's get rid of all the jobs in natural gas, a rational response would be, let's just plant another 1 billion trees over the next 2 years. Now, for whatever reason, the left disagrees with that. No, the world is ending, we have this stuff. Well, we actually know that trees will make the difference, and there's no downside to it whatsoever. So that's a very reasonable response, and it's always interesting to see their lack of reaction. The third and final thing to mention when it comes to all of this, which is, do we want to put into jeopardy the amount of growth and the amount of success we've seen with the current economic model that we have right now to sacrifice what in the future. And that's really, I think, the most dangerous thing, is that this is a power grab by the American left. It really is. What they're proposing, the Green New Deal, it does not do good, but it makes them feel good. Huge difference. The environmentalist movement right now is mostly built around people that want more political power for themselves,
Yes.
and also it makes them feel really good when they're protesting for it. Oh, save the earth, save this, I feel, look at how good of a person I am. I'm convinced if they weren't able to post on Instagram that they were doing it, they wouldn't be doing it at all. Their friends couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And so there are so many, if the left wants to get hysterical about something, talk about the fatherlessness rate in the black community. That's something worth getting hysterical. Thank you. Oh yeah, so it was a parody, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got asked a question by somebody who it was a parody, but it was very telling, where she said we should just eat the babies because it's the CO2. Has anyone seen this video? You guys seen this video?
Yeah.
What was so stunning is two things. First of all, no one in the room said anything. They were like, interesting point. Cannibalism. Never thought of that one. Like, no one said anything. And then secondly, AOC just is like, it's a very serious point that you brought up, and here's my plan. No denunciation against cannibalism. Now, do I think that she's pro-cannibalist? No, I don't. But it's just, first of all, if a Republican would have never not denounced somebody say something
Oh, my
like
goodness.
that, it would be the biggest story in the history of the planet.
Oh, he's a cannibal.
Media. Biggest story. And the second part of this, which I think that is, I actually think that the hysteria that she is communicating to her audience is causing so much, I think, just, again, division of our country, and it is baseless. It is baseless at best, and so I think I appreciate your question about it. It's something all of you should be aware of. So we'll take one or two more. We're running out of time. So,
Hi Charlie, my name is Jeffy. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm a fan of.
Jeffy, my man.
This is my first
Nice,
time in
oh.
the USA, first time at the Turning Point event, first time at.
wow.
And first time at the White House, I believe in what you're doing. I've been following you for quite some time now. That's why I had to come here. And for blacks, also from Africa, Africans are naturally conservative. We are very
Yeah.
So when I came here and I saw what happened to the black community, it was just sad. I could see that the black community has lost their heritage and they've forgotten who they are. And back home, actually, we have bigger problems, And I'm thinking of starting a turning point back home in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that it's going to make so much change from what you have heard from you and from our conservative values already back home. I know we just have to wrap up the young ones from high school and college, and I know we are going to have a very, very great movement back home in Nigeria. So now my question is this: I'm thinking of having like a turning point in Nigeria. So how do I go about it, since you are the...
You know what? We have Turning Point UK, we have Turning Point Israel, so why not Turning Point Nigeria? Nigeria, for those who don't know, is the most populated country in Africa.
Oh yes, 200 million.
Unbelievable. So, thank you for being here. We'll talk after. And this is now a global movement, I think it's fair to say. All right, I think we have time. This one's quick. We have one or two more, then we'll do pictures. So, yes.
All right, so this is kind of a hypothetical. I love the free market just as anybody else. When AI starts to encroach on being human, you have Elon Musk wanting to incorporate AI. At what point is there a point where we do have to restrict the free market in order to save humanity as a whole?
No, but so
Got dark real quick.
I guess we don't know totally what that will look like. I will say this, back in the 1900s, there was a huge movement called the Luddite movement of people that were afraid of all these machines that were going to come in, and they were smashing the machines, and because they're afraid that we're going to take all their jobs. Like, if there's a time and place where I don't want to say utopian, but the fantasy land that they're talking about ever comes to fruition, there's always a conversation to be had. But I think in some ways it's somewhat of a superfluous, hypothetical, fun, late night conversation to have. But they're very real, pressing, I think, issues. I mean, look, Andrew Yang, who I think is laughable at best, he said, oh, let's give $1,000 to people because robots are going to take all these jobs away. Well, instead of giving $1,000 to people, why don't we give people $1,000 a month tax cut? Like, that would be a better way to go about it.
Yeah.
I mean, people that are actually working, they take $1,000 off. The payroll tax, by the way, if you want to turn someone into a conservative, just show it their payroll and say, we conservatives believe in getting rid of the payroll tax. We believe in getting rid of the payroll tax. And the left doesn't. So anyway, I appreciate the question. I guess the old adage is we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If all of a sudden, here's the thing. If I get asked a question by a robot in the next 5 years, then we got a problem.
Right.
All right, last question.
Okay, hey Charlie, my name is Calvin. My question is about reparations because this is like an ongoing debate. I do oppose reparations because I feel like it's a kick in the face to our ancestors to think that you can pay off 4 years of slavery with a check from the government. But I keep hearing, white people want reparations because they did this to us and stuff. But do you think we should hold black people accountable too? Because that's the first slave owner in America was actually African American. A slave owner from Angola by the name of Anthony Johnson also went to the Virginia courts to propose slavery. So I'm just like, it was successful. First account of slavery by a black person should we hold African Americans accountable.
My answer would be no. No. There are those exceptions, but that wasn't the rule. And look, I think the entire reparations argument is so unbelievably convoluted and dangerous. First of all, you hit it on the point at the beginning, where how do you do justice for something that was that sinful for that period of time? However, instead of talking about generations of which people have no actual relationship with right now, talk very specifically today over the $22 trillion that we have spent in the black community since 1960, $22 trillion in government welfare and in housing and urban development. Has that made the black community richer over the last 50 years?
Made it worse.
It's actually made it worse. It's actually made it...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made fatherlessness rate go up and all that. So I think we first have to just reject the idea that handing out money to a community or more stuff is going to improve that community. In fact, there's no evidence. It's the exact opposite. The 2 poorest communities in America, the 2 poorest with the highest rates of fatherlessness, the most issues, are the 2 communities with the most amount of government assistance per capita. Native American community and the black community. Do you know what's so upsetting about that? Those are 2 communities that have a much more than illegals, border jumping into our country. Those are two communities that have a rightful claim of saying America is theirs.
Yes.
And they've been it's such a disservice by the American left. But I would answer your question, no, I wouldn't say that. And by the way, I'm not going to take responsibility for something I never did either. Like, I'm not to blame for something I didn't do. By the way, I believe that anyone who owns slaves or owns slaves should be in prison today. There's no one. If you find that person, put them in, please, because that's an evil, sinful, horrible thing. Lock it up and throw the key away. Here's the bigger question, though. Black America is suffering right now. It's doing better under President Trump, thank goodness. Over the next 20 years, how do we get fatherlessness rate to go down 1% a year for 20 years? What does that look like? How do we get more black youth to be able to read by the time they're 10 years old?
Yes.
How do we get the black poverty rate to be sustainably fixed? How do we get the incarceration rate to go down? These are real questions. And handing out checks to a community that's suffered so much already under having a bunch of stuff, welfare, single motherhood assistance, SNAP, Medicaid, housing, urban development, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that are spent already every single, and it's not making the community richer. Giving more stuff out does not make the community richer. It doesn't. And there's 2 other things. Rebuilding and strengthening the black church and the revitalization of the black entrepreneur. In order to make communities wealthier, you need people to take risks, which is why I talk about access to capital, why I talk about people that have an idea and acting upon that idea. Those are the 2 biggest things. Black fathers, black entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Those things help provide a lot more than a reparations debate will in this country. So I appreciate it. everybody here should go to our Student Action Summit in December, okay? It is a massive event. We'll have thousands and thousands of people there. Speakers, you've heard announcing some massive speakers this week. Get your application in, tpusa.com/SAS. And so for those of you also that came to this conference with no idea about Turning Point USA, we have a nationwide network of high school and college across the country. Get involved, get started. We have a whole staff that can help you through that process. You heard from some of the chapter leaders yesterday. We want to help you through that. We have a conference coming up in Newport Beach in Southern California and one coming up in Cleveland very soon. And we have opportunities for you to become influencers for Turning Point USA. And you're all now part of the Turning Point USA network and family. You guys all made history yesterday. And this is the largest ever Black conservative summit in California. Let's get on stage. Let's take a group picture together. Thank you guys so much.
Check, check. Hey guys, before you go up, we're going to need you to take your MAGA gear off, please, for the picture.
Will you be going to sex? I'm going to go to teen sex.
Okay, so we're going to, everyone go towards the stage. I'm here at the back. If you're shorter, please come towards the front or I won't be able to see you. Okay, you guys gotta get real close, real close. Hey, can we get the house at full all around? These cans here on the right, where they out? Okay, everybody, you're gonna look back here. Can you see me? Up on the ladder? Okay. Pray that I don't die. Alright, look right here. Okay, I'm good. Hey guys, hold on just a second. All that are still there, can we get a USA chant for video, please? So go back towards the stage. For video. It's free in the channel. Alright, somebody start a USA chant up there. All right, thank you.
What? I need to know that.
I've seen them already.
Right. Well, they're cute. You gonna go get your picture with Charlie?
Oh, I got you. Don't need to worry about it, Doc. I'm gonna just do this little spin move like football.
Because I was eating, and instead of like going
All right. What's going on? What's going on? Pardon me.
else, I ate.
What's going on, Sharice? Uh-oh. Oh, you good, you good, you good, you good. Pardon me. Slap past you. What's going on, man?
You definitely have to consider what's black.
It's a line like this here.
Like, I wouldn't qualify, I don't think, like, it wouldn't be fair because I'm Cuban, but...
I'll take it.
Because I'm Cuban American, but like the people that could use their descendants.
Hey, I'm good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, but not by
Yeah, I was there. You were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was kind of in the middle front, so I didn't get to touch him, but I was like right there where I saw him like shaking hands.
Oh, wow. So you were like right in the mix.
I passed my friend my hat. I'm like, sign it. And he was just basically kind of short this time, so it wasn't as long, but it was still.
Right, yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. What's going on, man? Good, good. All right.
I was watching one where you were talking about the review on the CNN pastors and like the treatment they were giving the reverends.
Oh yeah, with Don Lemon.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Yeah, that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way there. Yeah.
But very good.
Thank you, thank you. I'm
I'm gonna walk down those steps because it's not helping.
yeah. Be careful.
Yeah, stepping down.
Need some help.
No, I'm good stepping down the steps, but not like, going off the, yeah, can I go? Okay. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right now. All right, so we're here. I'm about to get on with Charlie, maybe get a picture. Live on YouTube. Thank y'all for joining. I appreciate it. We have lunch right now coming up. So after the lunch, I'll probably stream some more. We got Highs Twins coming at about 3:30. So I'll probably restart with Highs Twins doing it. I gotta get recharged. I have a spare battery here, but it ain't doing that much. I'm about to be on 15% on the battery. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it on out, and I will see y'all in a little bit. Peace.